radioinfluence.com.
Trunks. He hurt him. Beautiful. Oh, that's beautiful. He's got it. And he forced the top. Wow. And here's the submission. And it's all over. It's all over. First round knockout. Is how Rick Franklin retains his belt.
The one thing that I never thought in a million years would happen happened.
The champion. The challenger. Here we go.
This is the MMA Report with Jason Floyd on Radio Influence.
Welcome into the April 11th, 2021 edition of the MMA Report podcast. I am Jason Floyd, and this is the interview edition of the show. I have got a trio of fighter interviews for you here on this episode. You're going to hear the conversation I recently had with Lupi Godinez, as she is going to be making her UFC debut, stepping up on short notice to take on Jessica Penne coming up here on Saturday. UFC Vegas number 24. Of course, this is actually the second time I've had a chance to speak with her. Spoke to her after her most recent win in LFA, and now getting an opportunity here to fight up on short notice. Then you're going to hear my conversation with Andrew Whitney, who fights at the end of the month at CES MMA 62. He's going to be taking on Diego Silva. I had a chance to catch up with Andrew, talk about his preparations for his matchup here at the end of the month in Orlando at CES 62. And then in the final conversation, you're going to hear from a fighter who is coming off a win at Caged Aggression 30, trains out of the MMA lab, Trace Inglikis, who is now 2-0 in his career. Had a great conversation with him, talking to him about his win recently there at Caged Aggression number 30. Of course, as always, appreciate you taking time out of your day to download and listen to this episode of the podcast. Of course, a great way to show your support for the podcast, leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcasting platform you are listening to the show on. It is much appreciated. Before we get into the interviews, kind of talked about some things that have happened over the past couple of days. Of course, Friday was the Bellator 256 card, and full disclosure, I was watching the prelims, and of course, all the betting favorites came in on the prelims, and then, I passed out. I was super tired and ended up falling asleep right as the main card started. Actually, here for recording this episode of the podcast, went back and watched the main card. Of course, one of the fights I definitely wanted to check out was that Dan Moret-Gochi Yamauchi fight. Obviously, a lot of controversy there. A close fight, very close fight. But I scored for Gochi Yamauchi, which kind of made it difficult as I was putting in my Bellator rankings of kind of where to put Gochi Yamauchi when, it's a controversial decision, which I thought he edged it out. But, 2 of the 3 judges scoring the fight thought that Dan Moret. So where do you put Gochi? Where does Dan Moret fit in the equation? So actually did that a little bit earlier on, and of course that card also Casangano, great win for her. You got a match, and Bellator is going to want to potentially set her up to take on the winner of Chris Cyborg and Leslie Smith, which that'll be in May. Of course, also Ryan Bader moves on. Adam Borak's big win for him over Jeremy Kennedy. So did do my rankings there, but overall did enjoy it, and I've really enjoyed the Bellator product on Showtime. I'm really liking and digging what I'm seeing from there. Also, by the way, if you follow me on social media, whether on Twitter or Instagram, of course, both those handles are at Jason_Floyd. You'll saw that last night I did attend WrestleMania. I will tell you, as a kid, I was a hardcore WWE, WCW watcher, and I probably have not really actively watched pro wrestling in probably 15 years. When I was working in terrestrial radio, a lot of the wrestlers would come into our studios because FCW was, literally a 2-minute drive from our studios. So you would get a lot of the performers would come in, do interviews, whatnot. But my buddy texted me Saturday morning and said, "Hey man, you want to go to WrestleMania?" And I'm like, "Sure, let's go." And so we were sitting in, I want to say it was section 112. The only bad part about our seats was like basically their production tent was like just off to the left. So, when some of the performers were walking down the ramp, didn't always necessarily see it. So you had to kind of pay attention to the various big screens, but had a good time at WrestleMania. It was a little rainy to start, but once the pay-per-view got going, there was really no rain, and overall it was a good night. Obviously there was a lot of pop for the Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon match, but overall a great time. First time I ever had a chance to be at WrestleMania. So, I got a chance to work the Super Bowl, being a part of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back there in February, and now WrestleMania. So it was a good time, and it was a fun time, and everyone's doing their social distancing for it. So it was very safe environment. You had to do a COVID questionnaire before you could even enter into Raymond James Stadium, but overall it was a good time, and I was glad my buddy hit me up, and got to see the first night of WrestleMania, and I think I'll probably do a sign up for Peacock and watch night 2, since I did watch night 1, but haven't really watched wrestling actively in a long time. I will tell you the one performer I do tend to kind of just check up and see on what his character is Bray Wyatt. The reason being, Bray was a guy that would come in to our studios pretty frequently there, but overall good time. And then of course also we had the UFC card yesterday. It's gonna be very interesting to kind of see what happens at the middleweight division now. Marvin Vettori, obviously a dominating victory there over Kevin Holland, and of course we got a big middleweight matchup this week with Robert Whittaker and Calvin Gastelum. Just kind of see how this division is going to play out, and it'll be really interesting to see how the UFC moves forward here at 185 pounds. And also nice win by Arnold Allen. Hearing him in his post fight talk about, initially he had thought about calling out a top 5 guy, but he says, hey, when you don't finish it, it's kind of harder to call for those fights, but definitely a guy that definitely should get someone inside the top 10 in his next matchup. But that's kind of what's happened over the past couple of days. But let's get right into the interviews. Up first, you're going to hear my conversation with Lubico Diaz, as she is going to make her UFC debut coming up on this Saturday at UFC Vegas 24 against Jessica Penne. Joining me now here on the MMA Report is a fighter who's going to make her UFC debut here April 17th, stepping up to take on Jessica Penne. Appreciate the time. How does the call come? We all hear about the stories of, that call that you've been hoping for come. So what was that call like for you?
Well, thanks for doing this. It was really exciting. I was at Costco with my boyfriend, just buying some stuff, and Jason called, video call, and told us that we got this fight, and I better get my get it all together to go into the plane, because I got to travel the next day, and everything is being, so fast that I haven't really had time to sit and think. But yeah, I'll have time after the fight for that.
When you're sitting there shopping and you look at the phone, you see the card, you see it says Jason House. Did you think like this could be a fight offer? I mean, was that even on your radar?
Well, earlier in the day he was trying really hard, to get it. And then, so that call, it was like, it's happening or it's not happening. Right. So yes, my heart kind of like goes okay, and then he said yeah. So it was just like a roller coaster for sure.
Obviously, your opponent, a well-known fighter. I know in talking to your management, that was part of the thought process with this was, hey, it's a noble fighter, but she's been out for a long time. Obviously, she had some issues away from fighting that she had to get taken care of. I mean, what is the biggest challenge of fighting someone who has not fought in multiple years?
I mean, there is no really a challenge, because I've been training this whole time. So, I should be ready, and I'm ready. And I'm just excited. I'm so grateful that she's the opponent. I'm so thankful that now I'm part with the UFC, and it's just a new journey, and I'm excited to start this one.
Is there part of that, they talk about that feeling out process in a fight, of where does the feeling out process, could it potentially be a little longer than normal, just because maybe you just want to see like, okay, I've seen her footage from all these years of fighting, just maybe see if she comes out and does something a little different, or you just sit there and say, okay, this is the same fighter I've seen on tape, so I kind of know what to expect.
I'm just going to come out there having fun as usual, and, let's see what happens. I have no idea. I'm just going to go out there and do my job and have fun.
What would be your definition of having fun on fight night?
Me having fun is enjoying every single moment that is happening, you know, and I'm talking about the day that you wake up and the day that you're getting, you know, I'm dancing. I love to dance before fights. I'm super happy. Fight day, that's like my favorite day. I'm just dancing around all day, you know, everyone trying to calm me down. Yeah, just enjoying every single moment, because as we see, like, we don't know when we're gonna fight again. It may be the last fight, just because, you know, stuff happen in life, the pandemic happened, injuries happen, so it's just best to enjoy every single time.
So let's just say it's fight day. Is there a genre of music that's going on to dance to?
I like my Mexican music. Couple,
Okay.
you know, I have a lot of music that I like, Spanish music. So yeah, it's pretty much what I play and just go around it.
Now, do you try to force your training partners to join the dance party?
No, I mean, my coaches sometimes dance my boyfriend a little bit when we're warming up and stuff, but nothing crazy, you know. It's just pretty much that day is just all about me. So yeah.
You mentioned a moment ago about being calm. And I was thinking of this conversation I had a day with a fighter where they said, you know what, first start of their career, calmness was just not a trait they had. It just was never there. Has that always been a trait that you've had, or did it take some time?
Well, you know, when I was an amateur, I went through a lot of fights to figure it out what's what I like to do. So I will try to hate my opponent, to be mad, to, you know, to have all this, you know, I was trying to figure it out what works for me. So in my last fight, in my last amateur fight, actually, I started dancing because these Latin guys had some music. And I started dancing, warming up, and I felt great. And I went into the cage, and I fought Sam Humes, and I did really well. And I was like, I think that's what I like to do. And ever since, every fight, I'm just relaxed, dancing, you know, doing my thing. It's, you know, I'm stepping into the cage, doing something that I love, doing something that I enjoy doing every single day, right? So why that fight night has to be any different?
Has fighting always been something that you enjoyed, or did it take some time to realize you enjoyed this?
I want to say since I was a little kid, I had that always in me, but I just didn't know what exactly it was, I guess. Like, I didn't know that, oh, I want to fight, but I had something inside of me. And then I guess when I started fighting, it was, you know, it was scary. It was scary in the beginning until after all my amateur fights, until the last one. That's when I started enjoying the most, just because I find how to enjoy the nerves, how to enjoy that feeling of that day, you know, because if that's not for normal people, you know, you had to have something in there, kind of.
You know, I saw this video on Twitter earlier today, and it was talking about how some fighters, the day of the fight, the day before the fight, sleep is just something that you can't achieve because you're just so laser focused on, you know, the fight and what you want to do, what you expect out of your opponent. Is that at all a problem for you of getting sleep the day before the fight?
No, actually, that night I sleep the best. I hear a lot of people, a lot of fighters losing appetites or puking, right? That doesn't happen to me. I eat and eat and eat and eat, and yeah, I don't know. It's totally weird, but yeah, I'm totally fine fight day.
Fight week for your UFC debut. Do you think? Are you expecting to kind of have more additional nerves, or do you just kind of feel like, you know what, this is another day at the office?
You know, this is another fight. You know, we do this fight in LFA. We do this fight for a local show in Vancouver. We do this fight in UFC. It's a fight. You know, that's the same fight no matter where you put it. And it just means more people are going to see it, which excite me, you know, which now I'm going to get paid more, which is also great. You know, like, it's just little things that adds, and it's just a bonus for me. But that doesn't bother me at all. If anything, I want to show why I belong in the UFC and why I got the call.
I remember the last time we had talked, you were going through the quarantine, living there in Canada. And of course, I remember I was talking to somebody else and we were talking about the sacrifices that fighters have to make. And I know, looking at your Instagram, you've been there in Denver. Are you planning to go back to Canada or to do that 2-week quarantine, or do you plan to stay in the States after this fight?
No, I gotta go home. I gotta go home for sure. I miss my home. I miss, I gotta go home first before I do something else for sure.
In terms of that quarantine, is that just something that you've been through the process, so you know what it is? So I guess it is what it is.
It is what it is, and I actually enjoy it.
Okay.
I actually enjoy it, and I'm looking forward for it. I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna spend time with my boyfriend. I'm gonna spend time with my dog. I'm just gonna, enjoy 2 weeks off. That this couple of weeks is being crazy. This couple of weeks feels like months.
See, my wife is a homebody. Like, she can sit home all the time. I'm not that way. I like to be out and about. It's like, I feel like a 2-week quarantine, I don't think I would handle it well.
You will be surprised. I thought I was gonna go crazy at the start, but no, I didn't. Honestly, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It's like, like you get to maybe you focus on your kitchen and you start cleaning your kitchen. Like maybe you finish, you watch your show, and then I don't know, you find things to do, and I like to be home, so I'm actually happy.
In that time, do you overanalyze your fights?
Well, yeah, I watched my last fight like a lot. But yeah, I saw my mistakes and everything that I wanted to work on, because every time I fight, I'm never like, yes, I win. Oh yeah, I won. Oh, I'm perfect. I don't have to work. No, I look at all the bad stuff that I did, because even though I win, I did a lot of bad stuff that I need to work on, right? A lot of like lazy stuff that I didn't like, or my coaches started pointing. So yeah, that's what pretty much I did.
Yeah, because I think outside looking in, we always kind of think about that your thought process is always about your opponent. But, I know over the years of talking to fighters, it's like, I'm more worried about me and saying, how would I beat myself? If I'm that fighter, is that kind of your mindset on the fight game, is always looking at yourself, trying to, be your toughest critic, but also understanding, okay, this is what my opponent's watching?
Yeah, but there is I know there is a lot of ways that anyone could beat me, right? I have a lot of holes. I'm not gonna say, but I'm just getting better every time, and I'm getting quick. I'm new at this game, right? So I'm still fresh, and I have a lot to learn, a lot to change. So the Loopy that you saw in October is gonna be different that you see this fight. I've been adding so many things, and I'm really excited to showcase.
Final thing for the fans that are going to be tuning in, and maybe this is this will be their first time to truly watch you fight. What would you want those fans to know about you?
Just expect a fun, loopy fight. That's it. And watch it and keep smiling. That's it.
Appreciate time. Good luck here at UFC Fight Night. Of course, let her know they can find you on social media, and anything else you want to mention.
No, I just want to say thank you to everyone that has been with me since the very beginning, for believing in me. Thank you for the people here in Denver, Colorado, that it's been, a pleasure to be here. They're all so helpful to me. My friend Carson, she's been nothing but the best, driving me around, driving me here, driving me there, So it's just, it's crazy all the amount of support that I've been getting. And it's just, thank you to everyone.
Great stuff there from Lupe Godinez. I appreciate her taking some time out of her busy schedule to get ready for this short notice fight, and really interesting her talking about that her and her boyfriend were in Costco when she got the call to take this fight. And, also, her talking about what fun is to her and talk about how she likes to dance before a fight. And so interested to see what she can do here in her UFC debut, and taking obviously on a notable name in Jessica Penne. We all know, the situations that Jessica Penne has had with USADA. So, what does she look like at this stage in her career? This could potentially be a really good spot here for Lupe Godinez, making her UFC debut. Now, coming up next, you're going to hear my conversation with Andrew Whitney. He's going to be fighting here at the end of the month. He's going to take on Diego Silva at CES MMA 62. I spoke to Andrew about his matchup here in Orlando at the end of the month. Joining me now here on the MMA Report is a man that we are going to see at CES MMA 62, Andrew Whitney. Andrew, appreciate the time. I know it's been a while since we haven't had a chance to talk, but getting back inside competition here for the first time since August of 2019. So what has been going on, man?
Same thing that's been going on with the rest of the world. This Corona-19 hit, and it's kind of slowed everything down. So, yeah, I haven't been able to get in the cage, but I've been training consistently pretty much the whole time. So, I'm excited to get back in the cage, and I'm ready.
I mean, how do you describe the last year and a half for yourself? I mean, is there a word you can put to it all?
Crazy. It's just been crazy. I had to have some work done on one of my hands. So that kind of, the Corona thing, it gave me time to heal up my body, to tell you the truth. Spend time with my family and the kids, and just sit back and reevaluate some things and work on some things that I needed to work on.
What was the biggest thing that you had to reevaluate?
Just my head, dropping a fight and then dropping another fight when you know that you should have won those fights. It plays into your mental, and it can take you to some dark places. So, I wasn't really having fun anymore, and I knew that was one of the reasons. So I just needed to take a step back and reevaluate if I still wanted to do this or not. When you're done having fun doing something, then it isn't worth doing anymore.
What is having fun in the cage and training for you? What would be your definition of that? Just besides winning fights, having the success as fighters do. A lot of guys don't get the same opportunities as the next person next to them, and some people might have an easier road. Some people have a harder road to get to the big show or the big money. But at the end of the day, nobody really gives a shit about your journey, and nobody gives a shit about if you've had it worse than the next person. You just got to keep producing and win fights. But that is what kind of took away from me beating everybody they put in front of me, and then not being motivated to fight the next fight, and I might lose it, or having too many things going on at one time, and I dropped the ball on it. I put up 4 fights in a row, win, and I went against some good opponent quality guys, and then I see guys pass me up that hasn't put the work in and earned anything that I've earned in this sport. So that's frustrating, and there's no reason to complain about it. They pick who they want to pick, but that's frustrating. It doesn't make you want to train or fight anymore, especially when you don't have really much to show, for, the over the decade that you put into the sport. What has the focus been for you in this camp?
Just making sure, I'm 100% mentality-wise. Mm-hmm. Anything else, skill-wise, I'm as best as anybody in the world. Just making sure everything, my family, the right people around me, everybody's on 100% same page, and then I'm going to be fine.
You got Diego Silva here, who I mentioned about. What's your thoughts on him as the challenges that you believe he's going to present?
He looks squirmy. He looks scrappy. But at the end of the day, I am Andrew Whitney, and I've earned a name for myself the way. So I'm not going to give him too much credit. I respect anybody who stepped in the cage, but at the end of the day, I am Andrew Whitney. I know what I'm capable of doing on the night that I'm 100%, and I will be 100%.
In terms of maximizing your performance, is it as much mental as it is physical for you?
It's more mental. like I said, I mean, if you don't have anything to show for all the years of hard work, I mean, we can all do this if we love to do it. You know, if we all love to do it, we can all do it. But you know, bills need to be paid and things need to be done at home, you know, to keep everybody else happy. So, you know, that's pretty much where I'm at.
What would you say? Do you have goals set for 2021, and what do you want to accomplish as a fighter?
Yeah, my goal is starting with April 30th is I want to get right back in the cage after April 30th and put up another win and put up another win. Hopefully by the end of 2021, I'll be 3 or 4 fight win streak. And, you know, there really shouldn't be a reason anybody should say no to me.
Do you feel because of what you have been able to accomplish so far in your career that it's in a way easy for you to find opponents?
Absolutely not. Nobody wants to fight me. I mean, like I said, a lot of these guys out here are spoon picking and being spoon fed by their managers or the promotions that they fight for. You know, a couple down here in particular, promotions, I know for a fact they set up fights. You know, they set these guys up to win, and they want to make them look like they super bad guys. You know, I've never been anybody's golden child. So, yeah, you know, nobody really wants to fight me. I had to jump up to the weight class and fight Jason Swords in the next weight class up. You know, not many 35ers is jumping the line to fight me.
Does that become frustrating at some point, you know, over the past couple of years?
I really don't let it bother me, you know. I just take fights how they give them to me, you know, and that's another thing. Like, I've actually had time to prepare for this fight. With my last promotion and other promotions, they'll call me on 3 weeks notice and they just know that I'll say yes because I feel like I can beat anybody. And maybe that doesn't work out so well most of the time, but you know, I just try to keep a straight head and worry about myself and keep doing my thug pizzle.
Has this been like a true 6 to 8 week camp for you, or will be?
It's about a 7-week camp for me.
Okay. Is that kind of what you really feel is a sweet spot for you of how, you know, obviously an ideal scenario you would want to prepare for a fight?
Yeah. I mean, as a professional athlete, you want to prepare for your opponent. Now, circumstances don't allow you to do that most of the time, especially if promotions are trying to be funny about things. But ideal-wise, you want, and every promotion should be professional at the same time, and give their fighters a 7-8 week training camp, you know, just to get the full potential of the fighter out of them. Don't grab a fight on 3 weeks notice and he might not be in that good a shape. He's just, you know, just fighting just because he's a fighter, you know. And we've got kind of sidetracked. You know, a lot of guys are promoters instead of fighters anymore. You know, I'm still that old school gladiator mindset. So, yeah, you know, I think I've never been beaten with a full training camp. Never in my career.
And of course, everyone's going to see your fight here, CES MMA 62, April 30th there in Orlando, Florida. Andrew, I appreciate the time. Of course, let me know anything follow you on social media and anything else you want to mention, man.
Yeah, I mean, on Facebook, you can find me on Andrew Whitney. On Instagram, my handle is Andrew_Sir_Whitney. And my Twitter account, I don't really get on my Twitter account too much. So, but thank you guys for having me. And you know, I plan on putting on a great show, and I'm looking for the finish.
And that was my conversation with Andrew Whitney. I appreciate him taking some time out of his day to talk to me about his matchup here at CES 62. You know, some of my big takeaways from that conversation is he talked about how the time off between fights because of the pandemic, how it caused him to reevaluate everything. And really interesting. He talked about, you know, how there was a point where he wasn't having fun. And, you know, the other big takeaway I have from that is when I brought up about the fact of, you know, whether or not it is hard for him to find opponents, you know, and he had said, you know, promotions, you know, setting up fights and actually being able to have a full fight camp and not getting a call on 3 weeks notice. To me, it was very clear the promotion he was talking about. You know, all you got to do is look at his Tapology, and I think you can kind of figure out who was talking about there. But really interesting things there from Andrew Whitney. and a guy that I think really has always kind of been a fight or two away potentially from getting that UFC offer, but it just ultimately has never come together for him. So good luck to him here at the end of the month at CES 62. Now, in the final conversation here on this edition of the podcast, you're going to hear my chat with Trace Anglikis, who is coming off a win at Cage Aggression number 30, a dominating win that he had in that matchup against Wesley Powers. So I spoke to him about his win against Wesley Powers, talked about how he ended up at the lab, and a wide range of other topics. So here's my conversation with Trace. Joining me now here on the MMA Report is a man who's coming off a victory at Cage Aggression number 30, now 2-0 as a professional. Trace, appreciate the time here. Of course, anyone who's not watched the fight can go over to the Cage Aggression YouTube channel. I was watching it. I would sum up the fight in one word: domination. Is that the way you would sum it up, or are you the type of athlete that you're just very hard on yourself, so you kind of you see the things you're just not happy with in the fight?
Well, a little bit of both. I can recognize a good, clean performance while also being my biggest critic. I think there are a lot of places where I could have ended that fight. I mean, I got back to the lab and started working just last week, and Coach Crouch showed me like one thing where I was like, oh, I probably could have ended the fight with this. So, I mean, if you're not criticizing your own performances and trying to take something away from it, I mean, that's just wasted time in the cage. So while I do think it was super dominant, very clean, I don't think I made any mistakes necessarily, which is like what I always like to just be as mistake free as possible. So I am happy with the performance. A win is a win, but I left a lot on the table, I felt like.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at my notes as I went back and watched the fight. Round one, you get the mount pretty quickly in the matchup. You ultimately get the back. Potential 10-8 round. Looks like, one of the judges had a 10-8 round. Of course, then you had, then the third round was clearly a 10-8 round. And then the second round, you had a quick turnaround. Majority of the round ultimately ends up being there. There were some submission attempts throughout the fight. Do you go back and you look at those submission attempts? Is it kind of like what John, said to you of just like, it's just that little fine detail of maybe why you couldn't get the finish?
Yeah, 100%. I had a really tight Darce at one point, and when I look back at it, I kind of rushed that a little bit. I should have stayed with my 3/4 grip for a little bit longer, cranking on his neck. And instead, I went straight to that deep elbow lock, and I just wasn't in position for it yet. I think some of that has to do with just while being a super well-rounded, experienced wrestler, just those small details and submissions, they take a little bit to work out. If I were to go back, I would definitely do it a little bit differently. But yeah, there's a lot of areas where I look and I'm like, oh, just an inch here, an inch there, just very small adjustments where that turns into a fight that ends early for me. So while you can't be super satisfied with the result of missing those, it's super, encouraging to be able to pick those areas out. Because I like having things to work on. If I feel like I'm not working towards anything, I'm constantly not getting better, it becomes an issue for me. So I like to pinpoint those areas where are very easy to see, oh, we can improve here.
You mentioned about what you're able to do in the fight. The takedowns came pretty easy. Did you? You obviously you talk about that wrestling background you have. Were you surprised how easy the takedowns came?
No. I think it's going to be a while before I see somebody who's going to have, a good time defending my takedowns. I wrestled at a super high level. It's going to take another really high level wrestler to really defend those. And in my experience with fights, I haven't had too many, but fights that go a little longer, or maybe my experience in rounds in the gym, after you show them that you can pretty much do it whenever you feel like it, they just kind of stopped defending. And I think that's what happened towards the end of that fight. The last double leg I got, it's just, he didn't even try at all. It's because he knew it wasn't worth his time. It's easier for him to start trying to survive off of his back than him waste the time defending something that he just simply can't defend.
You know, you mentioned about training there at the lab and obviously getting those tough rounds in. Is there someone at the lab that they just know how to push your buttons? They know that one button to push to ultimately get the best out of you?
Yeah, oh, for sure. If you don't got a teammate like that, man, you got to find one, because I think that's absolutely necessary to grow in the sport. So on my feet, there are a lot of guys who can do that to me. Like on Wednesday, we're just kickboxing, no takedowns. It's just stand-up sparring. I did some rounds with Scott Holtzman, Hot Sauce.
Yeah.
And there's a guy who can just stand in front of me and just find the openings. He's a very good striker, really powerful striker. So I had some good rounds with Scott where, I can make some stuff work on him, but the general theme of the round is that I'm probably losing, and that's a good thing. Like, I don't mind losing in practice, and you're gonna against a guy like Scott. Him, and then grappling wise, I'd say like Mark Martin or Mike Hamill. Mark Martin's he's actually fighting not this weekend, but I think the next weekend in the LFA. He's going to be in the LFA, and Mike just coming off of that fight against Usman Nurmagomedov. Both really good grapplers. Mark at Ohio State, Mike out of Wyoming. So, those are the guys that are going to give me good looks, those Division I wrestlers or top tier jiu-jitsu guys, which we have no shortage of at the MMA lab. I mean, we have some of the best jiu-jitsu around. So yeah, I would say those two, Mark and Mike, are the ones that can get me to slam my fist into the mat sometimes. They're frustrating dudes to wrestle. Very frustrating work ethic, always in your face. So as far as partners go, man, I don't think I could be at too much of a better gym. I mean, I have some of the best partners in the world.
So how did you end up at the lab?
So actually, so I was coaching wrestling at Northern Illinois University, where I wrestled at. I got done with college and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So my head coach said, "Hey, why don't you stay and coach and get your master's?" Which I had no intentions of doing at all. Like, I was just set free. So I was like, yeah, that sounds better than like growing up. So I got my master's, and while I was getting my master's, I was bored because I was coaching wrestling, which when you're my age, at my level in NCAA coaching, you're a practice partner essentially. Like, I went on recruiting trips, did all that good stuff, and cornered people, went to the tournaments. But essentially the big benefit for me being there was for me to wrestle 4 or 5 hours out of the day with the guys. So I felt like I was in better shape than I'd ever been in my college career. And I wasn't competing. So I was getting bored. So I started fighting, and, 1 fight, 2 fight, 3 fight, 4 fight, 5 fights. And, nobody had taken a round on me. I was having a lot of fun with it. And I got a call from an agent who's my agent now. And he had heard through the grapevine from a dude who went to town near me and ended up being the paralegal for the UFC, that there was a dude in Rockford, Illinois, who was fighting. He was a pretty good wrestler, and he called me and was interested in me going to a gym that they work with. Just coincidentally, my roommate from college had moved to Phoenix and had broken up with his girlfriend and needed a roommate. So that whole thing, all the stars aligned for me to end up here. And I think it's what was supposed to happen, because I love the gym. I love my teammates. And I think I'm in the best place I could be in. But it was just a lot of super random occurrences and someone sticking their neck out for me that got me all the way down to here.
So what'd you get your master's in?
Sports management.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you wanting to be an agent, when the fighting life is over?
I think that would be cool. I would probably have to pursue something in law a little bit along the way. Most agents, I believe, are lawyers of some sort. So either that, or I'd maybe start a promotion or work with a promotion, go into sports marketing. I'd love to stay around the sport. I mean, I've never seen anybody who worked in any side of the sport that didn't really enjoy what they do. And with how much I enjoy competing in it, I can't imagine, not wanting to take more steps outside of fighting in this kind of area. But either that or go back into coaching. I think that's always an option for me. I enjoyed being a coach. There's something really special about the NCAAs and the NCAA tournament that I don't think I'll ever, not have a place in my heart for. So I think those are all options. But, right now it's just I'm finally in a place where 100% of my focus is pretty much on fighting, and which is sad to say that I've been out here for 2 years and I've only really been like 70% there. But this last fight put me in the position where I can, put more of my attention on fighting and start looking at bigger options to climb the ladder.
Mention about how much of your focus is on fighting. What do you do to get your mind off the fight game? Is it anything you like to do there in the Phoenix area that maybe help you get your mind off that daily grind?
There's so much to do in Phoenix. It's part of what I like about here. It's totally different from where I grew up. But I mean, honestly, the biggest thing I do to not have my mind on fighting all the time is I don't watch every card. That's like, people often ask me, did you see? And it's usually like, no, like I'll go back and watch the good ones. Like, or if I have friends fighting, like I'm going to watch this Saturday. My camel has like a viewing party. We're going to watch Hot Sauce fight. So I'm always there to watch my teammates, but unless there's like a really good card coming up that I really want to watch, I try not to, it's because otherwise I'm just there all the time. That I like doing a little hiking, stuff like that. Like there's a lot of cool stuff to do out here. Like you should never be too bored when you're in the Phoenix area.
So let's say you're walking into the lab tonight. Coach Crouch says, you know what, you can control the music in the gym. What's going on?
Guardians of the Galaxy radio, for sure.
Okay.
We're going to listen to the Spinners. I walked out to the Spinners, Rubber Band Man by the Spinners, and a lot of stuff like that. Like I like that old comfortable vibe, but which is weird because when I'm like not fighting, I'm like listening to metal like all day long. I love metal, but I can't attach that type of like vibe with performance, like I tried it in my amateur career where I walked out to Slipknot, like my first fight, scared the hell out of me. I don't know what like my heart was racing. I couldn't like get my heart rate under control, and then I kept stepping it down, and then I was like, this is not what's for me. I need something like more relaxed. I'm already up here all the time, so I needed something like more relaxed. I really liked walking out to the Spinners. Like it's different, relaxes me a little bit. So yeah, that was my go-to in college. It was either like a metal playlist in practice, or it was always Guardians of the Galaxy radio on Spotify, or not Spotify, Pandora.
Yeah. What's the favorite app on your phone that's not social media related?
Let's look, because I honestly don't know. This is gonna be a good plug for for a company that has given me some stuff, but where'd we go? There we go. My Compex USA app.
Okay.
To my mini eStim machine that they sent me, and I use that a lot. So I hook the eStim pads up, and it Bluetooths to my phone, so it's all wireless. So I just charge the pads, stick them on, and then I can do all my eStim right off my phone, which is like pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's crazy what we can do with technology these days.
Dude, that like being at the a state-of-the-art training facility my whole college career, and NIU's got a pretty good athletic training department. If you would have told me in 2012 that I was going to be able to do all of that, what those giant eStim machines in the training room do just off of my phone while I'm sitting on the bus or like sitting at home, I would have never believed that. So it's pretty cool that I have that now. I mean, it sucks going away from like a training department like that, but there are ways that like technology has made it easier for us to have those things right at our house.
Of course, I look forward to seeing when that next fight may take place. Really appreciate time. Of course, let me know they can find on social media and anything else you want to mention, man.
Yeah, so follow me on Instagram at Trace versus the World. I appreciate all the support, all you guys who follow me, come to my fights, buy my fights. Hopefully I'll have some merch out soon for you guys to buy. But yeah, the biggest thing you could do to help me is just follow me on Instagram and reach out and tell me you're a fan. And, all that stuff motivates me and drives me. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here and talk to you and have a good conversation, talk a little bit about fighting. So it's been great.
Great stuff there from Trace. I appreciate him taking some time out of his day to talk to me about his most recent win. Also, really interesting to kind of hear him talking about, how he ended up at the MMA lab and being a college wrestling coach and also talk about how he was getting his master's degree as that was happening. So appreciate him taking time out of his day and clearly someone that to be on the lookout for. Very young in his career, but he's on that trajectory. Keep going the way he's going. I mean, I think in maybe another year or so, maybe that's a guy that we see potentially in Bellator, or maybe he's someone who goes the Contender Series route to potentially get in the UFC. So interesting to kind of see what happens with him, and definitely a prospect that we need to keep our eye out for here over the next year or so. Of course, as always, appreciate everyone taking time out of your day to sit here and listen to me talk about MMA and listen to my fighter interviews. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, great way to show your support for podcast, rating, review. That really does help me out a lot as well. And of course, if you ever want to check out the advertisers here of the MMA Report podcast, you can check those out over at the MMAReport.com, as those are always listed, and the deals that they do have for the MMA Report podcast listener. I know my good people over HelloFresh hit me up the other day, and of course HelloFresh is something that me and my wife we get a delivery every Monday, so we get a new delivery tomorrow, so looking forward to the food that I've actually got 5 meals coming tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Just an unbelievable product. And, be sure to check out, HelloFresh and the other advertisers I have here at the MMA Report podcast. Of course, as always, if there's ever someone that you want to hear on the show, you can hit me up on various ways, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, email, Jason at the MMAReport.com. Sometimes Instagram DM can be the easiest, just because of, it's just, you can slide right into my DMs, which is at Jason_Foyd. So that's going to do it for this edition of the MMA Report podcast, as the interview edition comes out every Sunday, and then every Wednesday, myself and Daniel Galvan get you ready for the upcoming weekend's note of MMA action. Appreciate everyone taking time out of your day to download, listen to this show. Hope you've had a great weekend and have a great week, and I will talk to you again on Wednesday.